Usually, we picture history as this massive, unstoppable wave,
Yeah.
like a force of nature.
Right, like armies marching or sweeping changes. Yeah.
Exactly. Governments falling, that kind of thing. It feels like something that happens out there.
Yeah.
In the streets or in parliament buildings,
Yeah.
just washing over everyone.
Yeah, it's always on this grand scale.
But today, for this deep dive, we are taking you inside a single, quiet room. It's 1975 Tehran, and we're looking at a source that essentially traps that massive wave behind a locked door.
It really does. We are looking at a deeply intricate blog post from May 2026. It was written by Farid Novin,
Okay.
and it contains the complete script for a political and philosophical play called The Apartment on Mirdamad Boulevard.
Such a great title.
It is. And what makes this so compelling for us to dig into is the structural puzzle it presents. The play features a very grounded, realistic first act, set entirely in this modest apartment.
Just a normal domestic scene, basically.
Right. But halfway through the performance, a character known only as the director steps right out onto the stage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he halts the narrative completely, and he offers the audience a choice of 3 completely different, totally contradictory second acts.
It's just such a brilliant framing device. I mean, stopping the whole show like that.
It really pulls you out of your comfort zone.
It does. But before we step across the threshold into that apartment,
Yeah.
let's lay down the ground rules for today's deep dive. Because you brought us a source that deals heavily with incredibly charged, real-world historical events in Iran.
Yes, very heavy material.
We're talking about the actions of the Shah's government, the Savak's secret police, left-wing dissidents, and religious revolutionaries.
Which makes this the perfect moment to establish a crucial baseline for you, the listener. Because in exploring this source, our goal is strictly to impartially report on the contents of the author's text.
Right, exactly.
We are absolutely not endorsing any political viewpoints here, and we are not taking sides regarding any of the historical factions mentioned.
No sides at all.
Exactly. Our focus is strictly on exploring the philosophical ideas, the psychological mechanisms, and that unique narrative structure presented in Farid Novin's original play.
So the mission today is to decode how this author uses a single room to explore these heavy, haunting themes. Things like, inherited guilt, memory, and the actual machinery of betrayal.
And we really have to start with the room itself.
Let's do it. Paint the picture.
Well, the author describes the sitting room as having and this is a, quote, exhausted dignity of a place inhabited by someone who has spent years postponing a departure.
Exhausted dignity. That is such a specific vibe.
It really is. It's a space totally defined by what it's hiding.
Yeah, and the detail that really stuck with me from the source is the bookshelf. It's crowded with all these French paperbacks, but their spines are turned inward, facing the wall.
Yes, the blank pages facing out.
It's such a visceral visual metaphor. It's like wearing a mask for so long that your face actually starts to change shape,
That's a great way to put it.
Like, the books themselves have entered into this conspiracy with the owner to hide her true thoughts in a surveillance state.
And that owner is our protagonist, Sanaz Esfandiari. She is 31 years old and just entirely trapped.
Trapped how, exactly?
Well, she exists in this quiet, solitary reality in Tehran. Meanwhile, her exiled father is living in Paris, shouting his loud political idealism from a very safe distance.
Ah, right. So she's stuck dealing with the fallout of his politics.
Exactly. Sanaz works as an administrator, and she survives by cultivating this reputation for total emotional self-sufficiency.
Building a fortress, basically.
Right. But the text makes it very clear that maintaining this fortress of independence requires almost all of her strength.
Which brings us to that incredibly sharp observation from the playwright. He writes, "History enters nations through armies, but it enters human beings through loneliness."
That line hits so hard because we find Sanaz in the opening scene reading the social announcements in the newspaper.
Just a normal morning routine.
Right, but she discovers that the man she has silently loved for 2 years, Mirdad, has married someone else.
Ugh, brutal.
He didn't even tell her. She had to read it in print.
Yeah, and the stage directions note that she folds the newspaper with the tenderness one reserves for a wound and the precision one reserves for a weapon.
It's a devastating image.
It really is. She pours herself a drink, the phone rings, and it's him calling to explain himself.
And what does she do?
She just coldly shuts him down, hangs up. She realizes in that exact moment that she is completely, undeniably alone. And then there's a knock at the door.
3 uneven knocks.
Yeah, 3 knocks.
The kind of knock from someone who is terrified the neighbors might hear them.
Wait, but this is the exact moment where the playwright breaks the fourth wall, right?
Yes, right at the peak of the tension.
The director steps out, stops the play, and tells the audience there are 3 different truths about the fugitive on the other side of that door.
That's the twist.
But doesn't that completely ruin the emotional stakes? I mean, why shatter the illusion right when the tension is peaking?
Because the author isn't just trying to write a thriller. He's constructing a philosophical trap for the audience.
Okay, a trap. How so?
Well, if he just played it straight, we would only see one outcome of history, right? By stopping the play and fracturing the narrative into 3 distinct realities, he forces us to examine the anatomy of betrayal from every possible angle.
Oh, I see. So we aren't just watching a story happen to Sanaz.
Exactly. We are examining the hidden structures of survival itself.
So if we accept the director's invitation, we enter scenario 1. The author calls this Truth 1, the informant who wanted redemption.
Right. The door opens, and the fugitive is a man named Arman.
Who is he?
Arman is 29, a former university classmate of Sanaz, and now an operative within the People's Fedayeen.
Let's actually give some context for that, just in case a listener might not know who the Fedayeen were in 1970s Iran.
Good point. They were Marxist-Leninist guerrilla fighters actively operating against the Shah's government.
So highly illegal.
Extremely. They were engaged in armed struggle, assassinations, bombings. Being caught as a member of the Fedayeen in 1975 meant severe torture or execution at the hands of Savak.
And Arman arrives in a really bad state. I mean, his sleeve is dark with dried blood. He's actively fleeing the secret police. And Sanaz actually takes him in.
She risks everything to hide him.
Yeah. And there's this beautifully tense, quiet sequence over several days where they share a real moment of intimacy.
They do. They sit by the window listening to the city.
Right. They smoke. They discuss a poem by Nima Yushi, who is a poet famously imprisoned for his thoughts.
And Arman makes this really poignant point during that conversation. He says that frightened governments panic over poetry because a thought can survive a prison cell.
It feels like this profound connection between them.
It does, until the bottom completely falls out.
The absolute gut punch.
Yes.
Arman is a broken informant. Before he even knocked on Sanaz's door, he'd already called Savak.
He was working for them the whole time.
Right. He was arrested weeks ago. He broke under interrogation, and he traded 4 names for 6 months of freedom.
Including her father's network.
Exactly. He gave the secret police her father's network coordinates in Paris, and he used his own bleeding arm to lead them right to her apartment.
It's just devastating.
So my initial read on this when looking at the source is that he's just a classic villain, like a wolf in sheep's clothing using this poetic charm to manipulate her.
It's easy to see it that way, but the author specifically warns against that interpretation in the staging notes.
Really?
Yeah. The instructions explicitly tell the actor playing Arman not to play him as a villain.
Oh, well, okay.
His guilt, his exhaustion, and his affection for Sanaz are entirely genuine. The tragedy isn't malice. The tragedy is that he actually has a conscience, but he's been rehearsing survival for so long that performance and sincerity have completely blurred together for him.
So he's less of an evil mastermind and more like a drowning man who pulls someone else under just to get a breath of air?
That is the perfect analogy. The panic just overrides the morality.
That makes sense.
The text notes he spends days staring at the ceiling, trying to determine if his arithmetic giving 4 lives in exchange for 6 months of his own makes him a coward or merely a man.
That is a dark equation to run in your head.
Right. He represents a profound philosophical point about authoritarian regimes. The machinery of betrayal is rarely destroyed by grand heroic actions. More often, it is just interrupted.
And that interruption happens on the final morning, doesn't it? You hear the synchronized footsteps of the secret police arriving outside.
A moment of truth.
Yeah, and Arman admits everything to Sanaz. He puts on his coat, walks down the stairs, but instead of turning her in to secure his freedom, he walks out, faces the guards, and tells them there is nobody here.
Followed by an offstage gunshot and then total silence.
He sacrifices himself. But, I mean, it doesn't wash his hands clean, does it? He still gave up those other names.
No, it doesn't, and that's the point. Redemption in this first scenario isn't about becoming a spotless hero or magically erasing the crimes you've already committed.
Then what is it?
It's about choosing at the absolute last possible second not to complete the damage that history assigned to you.
Wow.
He can't undo the betrayal, but he can throw his own life into the gears of the machine to stop it from grinding up Sanaz.
That is incredibly heavy.
It really is.
So if Truth 1 shows us the tragedy of the broken informant, the playwright forces us into a psychological inversion next. What if the sanctuary itself is the trap?
Right, which brings us to scenario 2.
Or, Truth 2 Sanaz was the hunter all along.
The script resets completely. The knock happens again. But the man at the door this time is Kurosh.
Okay, who is Kurosh?
He's 32, another former classmate, but he brings a totally different frantic energy into the room. He's a bombastic socialist idealist.
I'm loud and proud about it.
Exactly. He arrives carrying rolled-up political pamphlets under his arm, and he keeps photos of his mother and former Prime Minister Mossadegh in his breast pocket.
Which is incredibly dangerous to carry around in 1975.
Yes.
For you listening, Mossadegh was the democratically elected leader who was overthrown in a 1953 coup. So carrying his picture is like the ultimate symbol of a stolen democratic dream.
It tells us exactly what kind of unyielding idealist Kurosh is. He talks passionately about the movement, the future, the coming utopia.
But the revelation in this timeline flips the entire power dynamic of the room. Kurosh eventually finds an incomplete Savak report hidden behind Sanaz's inward-facing books.
The mask slips.
Right. Sanaz isn't hiding from the regime in this reality. She is working for them. She has been meticulously feeding names to the secret police.
It completely changes how we see her.
I mean, wait, she's just turning dissidents over to be tortured. How does she even justify that to herself?
Her defense is one of the most chilling and complex parts of the entire play. She tells Kurosh, "I sold my faith in men."
Ouch.
Yeah. The author uses her to explore how an authoritarian bureaucracy actually functions day to day.
Because they need constant fuel, right?
Exactly. The secret police require constant validation. They need paperwork, they need names, they need quotas to prove they're keeping the state safe.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Sanaz realizes she can act as a pressure valve. She feeds the machine names of people who are already burned, people Savak already suspects or has captured, to satisfy their quotas.
To protect the ones they don't know about yet.
Precisely.
Wow, it's like she's a pressure valve. But it's a terrifying balancing act. She's essentially playing God with human lives, trying to manage a monster she knows she can't kill.
It's an impossible position.
She gives them what they already have so they stop looking for new victims. But doing that requires a level of detachment that is just staggering.
And she tells Kurosh that the Shah arrests people out of fear of losing power, while the dissidents accuse each other out of fear of losing ideological purity.
So she sees right through both sides.
Yes, she didn't choose a side, she just stopped believing sides existed at all.
Which sets up the ultimate paradox of this act.
Yes.
Kurosh is terrified, and he asks if she gave the secret police his name.
And she says yes. 4 days ago.
He thinks he's a dead man.
Right.
But then she goes to her bookshelf and hands him an envelope. It's full of money, fake identification, a contact in the city of Tabriz, and escape routes through the mountains.
Routes encoded in a cipher she knows he'll remember from their university days.
This is the critical moment for me. Why does she save him if she already betrayed him?
The author presents a brilliant assertion here. We tend to think of cynicism and idealism as opposites, right? One is dark, one is light.
Sure. That's the standard view.
But the text argues that cynicism is actually idealism after repeated disappointment.
Cynicism is the scar tissue of idealism.
Exactly. It's a hope that has been betrayed so often, it has become fiercely suspicious of grand narratives.
I love that framing. Kurosh fights for this vague, grand concept of humanity. You know, he loves the idea of the people, but he's blind to the reality right in front of him.
He loves the theory, not the practice.
Right. And Sanaz, the exhausted cynic, actually goes out of her way to save a specific breathing human being. Because she has stopped believing in causes, she can actually see the person separate from the cause.
History has room for both of them, but is kind to neither. Kurosh escapes into the night with the envelope.
And Sanaz?
She stays behind in the apartment, finally pouring that glass of water she never drank, just waiting for the knock she knows is coming for her, now that her pressure valve has failed.
It's basically a psychological courtroom drama. But then we hit scenario 3.
Yes, the final truth.
And if the first two realities were grounded in the gritty politics of the time, truth 3 is a full-blown, surreal twilight zone.
It gets very weird very fast.
The author calls it the revolution never happened. The knock comes for the third time, and the man at the door is named Daryush.
Immediately, the temporal reality of the room starts breaking down.
What do you mean by temporal reality?
Well, it's supposed to mean 1975, but the sound design of the play starts bleeding through the walls from different eras.
Oh, right. It's eerie. The script calls for audio from different decades of Iranian history to overlap.
Yes.
You hear a Quranic recitation echoing from a loudspeaker, then cassette-era pop music, gunfire from a completely different era, the sound of a crowd dismantling a statue.
And Dariush speaks in anachronisms.
He uses political vocabulary from the future, doesn't he?
He does. He mourns an organizer named Karimi, who, according to Sanaz, was only arrested 6 days ago. But Dariush talks about him in the past tense as if he's been dead for years.
That would be so unsettling.
When Sanaz pushes him on it, Dariush says, "In prison, one mourns preemptively." He actually knows the names of prisoners who haven't even been arrested yet.
Sanaz finally looks at him and asks, "What year do you think it is?"
And the silence that follows is deafening.
Then Sanaz starts looking at her own apartment.
Yeah.
The books she placed facing inward are suddenly facing outward.
And some of them have publication dates from the future.
The room itself is untethered from time.
Which leads to the most chilling visual metaphor in the entire play. The plaster wall of the apartment suddenly fills with dozens of projected photographs.
Just covering the walls.
Yes. And the staging note is crucial here. The light changes, and the images begin to mirror each other across time.
Mirror each other how?
A Savak officer from the monarchy and a Mojahid and Islamic Marxist fighter from the post-revolution era adopt the exact same posture in their separate photographs.
The text calls it the same geometry of injustice.
The same geometry.
An arrest during the Iran-Iraq War is visually equivalent to an arrest under the Shah. The uniforms change, the flags change, but the angle of the baton, the look of terror on the face of the person being dragged away, it overlaps perfectly.
They contradict each other ideologically, but they coexist architecturally.
So Dariush looks at the wall and asks Sanaz if they won. And Sanaz replies, "Which side?"
She realizes Dariush isn't just a fugitive from 1975.
Who is he then?
He is the spirit of the revolution itself, or everything she ever believed about it. He carries all the answers she ever wanted, but she sees that every answer simply leads to the same rooms with different names on the doors.
Wow. So the tragedy isn't betrayal anymore. The tragedy is continuity.
Continuity is suffering.
The ideology changes, but the plumbing stays the same. Every political system constructs a hidden architecture of rooms, prisons, ministries, interrogation basements, and apartments where people just wait in terror.
And those rooms always outlast the systems that built them. Revolutions don't destroy those rooms, they inherit them.
The apartment exists in several times at once because the suffering that happens inside it is timeless.
And notably, the director doesn't even return at the end of this act to explain anything to the audience.
He doesn't need to.
No, he's unnecessary now. The apartment has been speaking for itself the whole time. It absorbs the people, and the walls remain exactly the same.
It's a profound, heavy commentary on the cyclical nature of power. So let's zoom out and synthesize this. What does all of this mean for you, listening right now?
It's a big question.
You might not be hiding in a 1975 Tehran apartment, but the play forces us to look at the mechanisms we all use to survive the pressures around us. We all construct inward-facing books, don't we?
We absolutely do.
We all have parts of ourselves we hide from the surveillance of our peers, our workplaces, or society at large. We all have to navigate when to hold on to our idealism and when we need to protect ourselves from the crush of the moment.
The play really asks us to look critically at the structures we inherit, rather than just pointing fingers at the individuals who momentarily occupy them.
Right.
The first truth with Arman shows us that the machinery of betrayal is mathematical, but it can be interrupted by a single, incredibly costly choice.
And the second truth.
The second truth with Sanaz shows us that sometimes the most cynical participants in a broken system are the only ones left who can actually see individual humanity.
Because they've stopped being blinded by the glare of grand causes.
Exactly.
And that final, surreal scenario forces us to confront how easily we slide into the very architectures of injustice we claim to be dismantling.
It's a lot to carry.
It is. Farid Novin's script leaves us with a lot to unpack about our own internal pressure valves. And I want to leave you with a final, lingering thought inspired by the very opening quote of the text.
It's a powerful quote.
The author writes, "In every revolution, there's one man who asks for a glass of water and one who shoots him for counter-revolutionary thirst."
Wow.
It makes you wonder, if you were placed in the impossible pressure of that apartment, would you be the one pouring the glass of water that Sanaz leaves untouched on the table, trying to save just one person?
Or would you be the one knocking on the door, convinced the cause demanded a sacrifice?
And more importantly, how many times would history have to repeat itself in that room before you could no longer tell the difference?